All right, good evening to you. Hello. Let's get it on. Bring the noise. Bring the noise. I'm sorry, Mr. Bell. This is not one of your productions, but next time it will be. All right.
Whatever it takes, let's do it.
Good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome. Let me turn the music down here. Welcome to another version of Music Lovers LTD. Tonight is a show that I have been vastly waiting, anticipating, and finally it's here. We have as a special guest the legendary, and you know I don't use that word often because of the fact that in today's times, if you blink too fast, everybody's legendary, and I don't believe that. I believe you have to earn the title, you have to earn the title, and this man has definitely earned, worked, and wears the title well. The legendary Mr. William Bell from Stax Record. Everybody give him a nice round of applause if you would.
Hello, everybody.
It is so good to have you here, my brother. It really, really is. We've been playing telephone tag, and weather was bad, and all schedules were messed up. But we finally got you now, and I'm telling you, it's a pleasure. I have been telling everybody when I promote this show that you are on the lines, same lines, if you will, of Berry Gordy, who guided Motown. You're on the same lines of Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, who guided the Philadelphia Sound. You, William Bell, guided the Stax Sound, and we are so very, at least I am, and I know the rest of them are very happy that you had the opportunity and the wisdom and the know-how to do it. Stax was always, let's say, if Motown was first, Stax was second, trying to get to be first. So there was always a thorn in Motown's side. Would you tell us how that whole thing came about and how you became the pilot to lead Stax into the times that you did?
Well, those were exciting times. Back in the day when Motown was just getting started and Stax was getting started, and Motown was, as you know, really polished for the mainstream.
Yes.
And Stax was the grassroots, right out of church, right into the secular music, and we were feeling our way through, but we were in high competition with Motown, and we had just some wonderful people working with us, like the Booker T and the MGs and Al Jackson, all those guys, Steve Cropper, and then you had the label owner Jim Stewart and Estelle Axton, and they just kind of gave us the range to do whatever we wanted to creatively in the studio. And thank goodness we were neighborhood kids and working by the seat of our pants sometimes, but we created some iconic music.
Okay. It's been said that Motown, exactly what you said before, were like Motown was like the guy, somebody dressed up in a tuxedo, and you guys, let me say, the Philadelphia Sound came later, and they was a tuxedo with violins. You guys were straight out of the cotton fields, walking on the stage, giving you unsolicited raw soul, and I think that gut bucket soul is what attracted people because of the fact that we know where that came from. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, we were champions of the hard-working common people, and Motown was trying to get the whole industry on board with them. But we catered to the people that just ordinary workers and the people that went to church on Sundays and had partied on Saturday nights. That's
Okay.
how we.
The common folks. The common
There you
folks.
go.
Yeah, the common folks. All right, I'm going to back out here now and let my gang introduce themselves and ask you their questions or comments or what have you. DD, why don't you start off if you don't mind, please?
Good evening, Mr. Bell. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Now, I read that you started performing when you were 14 years old in the clubs around Memphis.
That is correct. I had one of these doo-wop groups called the Del Rios, and we worked on Hernando Street, which is right off Beale Street, during that time while I was all in school and all throughout school. Yes. So I've been around a long time.
Well, glad you're still here.
Thank you.
Thanks, TD.
It's good to
Thanks,
be
TD. Drew, come on in, Drew.
Mr. Bell, it's a pleasure meeting you. I'm Andrew. Reading up on you, sir, you are accomplished. I didn't realize you were such a prolific songwriter as well. We're familiar with your hits. You got into Carole King, and they're covering many of these songs. But what struck me is I came to my attention that you went to school with Isaac Hayes, Booker T. Jones, and a few others. Steve, so you guys grew up together? You went to school together? You and Isaac Hayes?
Yes. And
wow, that's amazing.
During that time, we were all a part of the Town Singers, which was a WDIA affiliation there on Saturday afternoons, along with B.B. King and everything. And so we did a 15-minute performance on the radio, and BB did his Pepticon show right after that for about another 20 minutes. But we all grew up in the same area, same neighborhood, went to the same schools and all.
That's amazing. And I see, and Rufus Thomas was a mentor?
He was. Rufus was on WDIA, which was, there's a toss-up between WERD here in Atlanta and DIA in Memphis, who was the first Black radio station. And I think they both pretty much on both ends of the totem pole, but I think they started around the same time, back in the late 40s, early 50s. And Rufus was one of the top DJs there, and I knew him well from we did what we call a talent contest every Wednesday night at the Palace Theater on Beale, and he was the MC, and actually he was like a vaudeville act, kind of tap dancing, told jokes, and all that stuff. So that's going way back.
Back to the Funky Chicken days and walking the dog.
Long before the Funky Chicken, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good question, Drew. Good question. Restful, let me get you hooked up here. Come on in, babe.
Hi, Mr. Bell. My name is Restful Spirit. It's a pleasure meeting you. My question is, I watched a video with you and Snoop Dogg. What inspired your collaboration with Snoop Dogg?
Well, Snoop had asked for me because he was a big fan, and I was a fan of his, but he was a big fan. And when we did the Take Me to the River movie, he had asked the director if he could perform with me. And when we met up at the first filming of it, we just clicked. You know, it's like, and I found out he was originally from his people are out of Mississippi, and my people were out of Mississippi and Tennessee. So we just found out all of the background for each other. And then after the movie was released, we did a couple of tours and everything together. So we became great friends.
Outstanding. Good question there, Russell. Good question. Let me move over to Lamar. Lamar, go ahead on, bro.
Yes, good afternoon. I am.
Good afternoon.
My question is, I know that Stax Records in the beginning was going to be a country label, but then they switched because of the children or youngsters in the neighborhood where they was listening to them and they don't get any son.
You're breaking up some, so I can hear every other word.
I'm sorry, Lamar. Try it again.
My question is that Stax Records was going to start out as being a country label, but after listening to the people in the neighborhood, they decided to change their format because they liked what they heard with the people in the neighborhood.
Yes,
Did you get that?
that's very true.
Okay.
They kind of started out as a country rockabilly kind of station. Jim Stewart was actually a country fiddle player, and his sister Estelle was into blues, and they didn't call it soul at that time. We created that. They were calling it rhythm and blues. And she was a big fan of that kind of music. And so when Stax was formed, it was in an old theater building, and it still had a record shop at where the concessions would be in the theater. Go ahead. And she had a concession there. So she was instrumental in the neighborhood kids. She would put a speaker out on the sidewalk, and all of the new records, she would play them, and we would dance out there on the sidewalk, and then she'd come out and pick our brains to find out what do you like about that record. So she converted Jim into from being a country fiddle player into loving the blues and R&B.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. What a task that was.
Yeah, it was, but he converted easily, and we were coming out of church, and like I said, from the clubs and the blues clubs in Memphis. To give you an idea of the makeup of the music there, you heard everything on the same radio station. You heard country, you heard R&B, you heard blues, and then you heard jazz. So
Okay.
that was our whole DNA coming up as kids.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Wide coverage of music, all wide coverage. Lamar, good
Right.
question, man. Good question, Lamar. Let me go to the professor here. Go ahead, professor.
Hi, Mr. Bell.
Hi.
They call me Professor. I just recently found out that you were supposed to be on the flight with Otis Redding and the Barcades. I know and thank God that you were not. I know you're glad you were not. But how did that happen that you did not fly with them?
Well, the Barcades was like I had a nightclub for a while in Memphis, and the Barcades were coming out of school, and they were on the weekends. They were my little band that played in the clubs. I had to get permission from their parents and everything, but Otis heard them at the Tiki Club, which was my club, and later on he decided he wanted to take them on the road with him, and so I was with him on the session that he did when he cut Dock of the Bay. And Otis and I had become great friends too. And I know he loved soul music, and I would take him up to a place, soul food restaurant called the Four-Way Grill, which anybody in Memphis could tell you about that. But they had great food, and so Otis and I became really good friends. So after the recording session, he knew that I was supposed to go to Chicago to play the Tivoli Theater there that weekend. And he said, well, why don't you just ride in the plane with me in the Barcades, and you can go to, they had one gig to do in Ohio and then going on to Wisconsin. So he said, I can drop you off in Chicago. So we would have just hung together for the whole weekend. But as luck would have it, to make a long story short, I had a call from the promoter from the Tivoli show, and he said that there was a blizzard in Chicago, and so they canceled my show, so I didn't go.
Oh, wow.
And, so that was
Wow.
the reason that I didn't go on the flight with them, and I was actually at home on a Sunday afternoon watching television, and a good friend, DJ friend of both Otis and mine, called me, and he's the kind of guy that joked a lot. And
Okay.
when he called me, we were talking, and he said, "Did you hear about Otis?" And I said, "Well, he probably had a great show or whatever." And he said, "No, his plane just crashed," and he was out of Milwaukee.
Wow.
And so he said, and I told him not to joke like that, and he said, "No, I'm." At that time, we had what you call ticker tapes coming at the
Yeah, I
radio.
remember those. Yeah.
And so he said, "No, it's coming through on the ticker tape." So I'm reading it all. And
Mm.
I just literally hung up on him because I was watching TV and I was thinking that, well, nothing has come across the screen on the TV.
Right.
And
Right.
as I was sitting there, it started scrolling across the TV. And I was just, to this day, I cannot tell you. I got up, got in my car, and I drove for 2 hours and cannot tell you where I drove. But when I
Wow.
wound up, I was pulling up in the front of Stax, and the doors were open, and everybody was uh, just crying and everything. And so
Right.
the reality of it just hit us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that is a good question. That was you, Professor. Yeah. Very, very good question. I happen to be myself, and I think no, I'm sorry. I was in Texas, and I happened to see, and I think I mentioned this to Larry, the story of Stax. And I thought it was an outstanding story. And they did spend a lot of time or quality time on the demise of Otis Redding. I had the opportunity to meet him once at the Uptown here in Philadelphia, where he was performing. And this was a big guy. He had on a pair of gray sharkskin pants and a light blue high boy. And he was standing there sweating behind the curtain. And I walked up to him and I said, "Mr. Otis," I introduced myself. I said, "You're going to be fine," because he was big. He was I'm talking about in stature, and also his recordings was very, very big here in the Philadelphia area. So that was my brief meeting with him. But that I saw that there was a magazine called Sepia. I think they were always against Johnson and Johnson, the Jet magazine, and
Right.
they
Yeah.
had the cover of that big hook pulling him out of the water and him just hanging there. I remember that for as long as I lived. I thought it was, I don't know if I want to say it was in bad taste. I don't know what I want to say about it, but it's something that's that's engraved here that will never, ever, ever leave me. You know, tough situation, really, really tough situation. And thank you for
It
bringing
really
that. Thank you for
was.
bringing that out. Go ahead.
It really was. Otis and I had become such good friends because we toured together for a while as a duo package.
Okay.
And we, for about 2 years, we were touring, and they were packaging us together on some of those shows that they would have, where you'd have 3 or 4 artists on and
Right.
stuff like that. And
Right.
and in between shows, we would hang out either in Memphis, or I'd go to Macon and hang out with him and his family in Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
So we became really good friends, and it was such a shock to everybody when that happened, because
Yeah.
not only did we lose him, but we lost the Barkays,
Yeah.
and both of those two, they were like little brothers to me, and he was like a big brother, and it was just a really, really traumatizing situation for everybody.
I'm sure he was a cornerstone of the Stax label too. The cornerstone
Yeah.
of the Stax label. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Mr. Bell. Before I go back, we go back around the room. I'm gonna put you on the spot by asking you a question, and please, because I've heard it's true, but I want you to confirm it. I want you to tell us the truth here, because we're on national television. Everybody's looking, and everybody over the world is listening. So,
Thanks a lot.
No pressure here. No pressure at all.
Right.
Tell me, in your closet right now, do you have the short set that belongs to Rufus Thomas that you wear from time to time?
No, but I do have an acoustic guitar that Otis owned. We were traveling on tour once, and we were traveling in the same car, and we would write songs in the back seat of the car while the Speedo, which was the driver, road
Right.
manager, was driving, and he broke a couple of strings on the guitar, and we were involved in writing this song, and the string just popped on it, and he didn't have any extra strings, so he rolled the window down, and he was going to throw the guitar out of the window as we were rolling along. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm going to throw this away." I don't say all the words, but
Right. I got
he
you.
was going to throw it away. And I said, "No, I can fix it later on. Give it to me." He said, "Well, here, you can have it."
Okay.
And so I still have it. I didn't even, after he was killed, I didn't, I wanted to keep it exactly the way it was when he broke the strings. So I didn't repair the strings on it, but I have it in my den, hanging on the wall in my den.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Great memories. Great memories here. Great.
Yeah.
We're gonna move. I'm gonna move as soon as I can get my opening here. I tell you what, we'll go back to Lamar. Lamar, come on in, man.
My question to you this time is, how did you come up with the song "I Forgot to Be Your Lover"?
Good question. Well, in this business, you're traveling all the time, and I was married to a wonderful woman, and I was never at home. I would come home and spend 2 or 3 days at home and gone again, because we did a lot of one-nighters in those days, and you'd come home, spend 2 or 3 days at home, and out for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd try to bring her out there, but she was into education. She was a teacher, so she didn't like the R&B fans that I had. So
Got you.
she wouldn't stay too long. So we were apart quite a bit. And so that's how that song came about. That's a kind of a story of my life, so to speak.
Good question, Mar. Good question. Come on in, DD.
Okay, Mr. Bell, this song "Private Number" that you did with Judy Clay, how did that come about? Did you write that also?
I did. Well, I was one of these acts. If I were not on tour, I was in the studio, because I wanted to learn all of the ins and outs of production, and how to mic drums on the drums, and what does this fader on the board do, and so I was actually, it's like going to university when at Stax, and so I was a good writer, and Judy was in town, and she only had a couple of songs, and we would always like to do at least 4 songs per session, because we did a lot of 45s at that time. And if we did
Right.
4 songs, you'd have at least have for 245 records to the A and a B side. So she didn't have enough songs, and Jim asked me if I had a song that she could do, and of course, I was going to do it for myself, and I only had a chorus, a verse, and on the song. And so he asked me if I would sing it. Judy loved the song, but she didn't have time to stay and work up the song, because she had to go back to New York for some something she was doing in New York.
Okay.
So Jim asked me if I would finish the song and come in and record it and send it up to Jerry Wexler and Judy in New York, so that she could put a voice on it. And I said yes. So I went over to Booker T's house and we sat up overnight in his den and finished up the song. Came back the next day and worked up the rhythm, cut it, and I did the entire song. And we sent it off to New York. Jerry Wexler had a wonderful idea, he and Jim, because they wanted something to compete with Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell in Motown. So
Okay. Okay.
that particular song, since I had done the entire song, they put they left my first verse on it and the chorus, and then put Judy on the chorus and on the second verse. We were not in the same studio doing it,
Okay.
and they got $1 million record out of it.
Oh,
And
awesome.
the rest is
Awesome.
history.
Awesome. Awesome. Good question, Didi. Good question. Let me move up to I'm trying to move this daggone mouse here. There we go. Okay. Restful, come on in, babe.
Yes, Mr. Bell, you were a very busy man, I see. So you were a singer, songwriter, and a producer. How did you balance your roles?
With love and conviction. I literally, I love the industry and I love the music, and I was always the kind of person I was just wanting to learn more and more about the business because I wanted to be what we would call in the industry a triple threat, to where I
Mhm.
could write it, sing it, and produce it. And so Jim and all of the fellows at Stax, that's the beauty of it, is that we got the opportunity to do that. So I took advantage of that. And I asked questions with all of the engineers, Tom Dowd, and they were all, I guess, open enough that they didn't mind asking questions. And so you would ask in a mix or playback, what does that knob do? What does that do? Uh, how do you put the reverb on and stuff like that? And it was like going to university. And that's how I really wrote so much for different people, because I was in the studio. If I was not on the road traveling, I was in the studio.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Good question there, Restful. Come on in, Professor.
Okay, this might be a little difficult because you're so dedicated to your craft. But could you describe your worst performance and what you learned from it?
Wow, good question.
Say again.
Can you
Describe my
describe
work.
your worst performance and what you learned from it?
Oh, my first performance.
You said
The
worse.
No,
Huh?
very
worst,
first one.
No, well, she
worst.
said worse. Worst performance. Worst.
Oh, worst performance.
Yeah.
Oh, I had quite a few of those. But I think I was lucky enough to get to work even in high school with my vocal group at the Flamingo Room, which was a place where a lot of jazz. They had a big band up there called the Phineas Newborn Band, and we cut our tenure there right there in the Flamingo Room. So all of my mistakes and learning how to work an audience and sing in tune, because everybody there, all of the guys within the 14-piece orchestra, you had, and I'm going to give you some examples. You had Charles Lloyd, who is a good jazz player. You had
Okay.
Honeymoon Garner, Gene Bowledge Miller. You had Phineas Newborn Jr. on
Okay.
keyboard, Calvin Newborn on guitar, and Hank Crawford before he went with Ray Charles. He
Right.
was in
Right.
Phoenix band. So all of those guys just kind of took a 14-year-old kid under their wings, and they were hard on me to a degree because it was tough love.
Okay.
And some at times that, say for instance, at rehearsals, they would make me sit down at the piano and teach me progressions of a chord, how to sing a passage of a song. And I would have to sit there, learn that on the piano, and sing it. And if I didn't sing it correctly, they were really hard. Go home, study it, play it, come back the next week at rehearsal, and you'd better know it. So
Okay.
uh, that's how. But as far as performing, I did it through trial and error. As a kid, uh, we worked there for 4 years, all during high school, from the ninth grade through the 12th, and then on the road during the summertime. And so it was just wonderful to be able to get all of the input from seasoned musicians, and most of them were uh, jazz musicians, but they also did at that time, we heard everything. So everybody did all forms of music.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I thank you, Professor. I echo what Restful said, that you not only were you busy, you were learning the craft. And you have done, it appears from all the things I've read, things I've seen, you've done excellent at promoting your craft. Come on in, Drew.
Yes, Mr. Bell, you mentioned acting earlier. And it seems like you've had a few acting roles to your credit, starting way back in the early 70s with one Samuel L. Jackson. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct. I've always wanted something to challenge me, and I wanted to be a part of the industry, and the music industry and the movie industry are closely related. Um, I started. I stayed for a year in New York with Phineas Newborn Jr., and he and I were working a nightclub in Long Island. There's a jazz club, and he had a trio, and I was the vocalist for them. And during that time, I started taking some lessons from the Academy Theater and the New York theater there on acting, and so I got the acting bug. And then I came back to from Europe touring, and landed in New York, and they were telling me about a movie that they were going to shoot in Atlanta. And of course, my agency said, "Why don't you go and read for the part?" And I just on the spur of the moment, I figured, well, it wouldn't hurt. So I had a couple of days in New York. So I went and read for this part, and they at the time they said, "Well, we'll call you back." And I just kind of forgot about it. I came home, and I had moved to Atlanta then, and I got this call for a second reading, and it was with Samuel L. Jackson, Clifton Davis, and female actress named Lois Childs, and it was called Together for Days. That was the first movie that we filmed. We filmed some of it in underground Atlanta and different places around Atlanta. And most of my stuff, except a few scenes, wound up on the cutting room floor, but it kind of put on my appetite for acting.
That's where a lot of stuff ends up.
That was Samuel. He was just coming out of Morehouse. That was his first movie role too.
Okay. Okay. Good question, Drew. Good question. I want to say, let me ask you this, if I could. Your choice, your choice. What would you change about your life from Stack, or from whenever you started until now? What would you change?
I think the only thing that I would change, because I've had a wonderful life, It hadn't always been easy, but I've learned to roll with the punches. And thank goodness I had a lot of people in my corner behind me to direct me with managers and agents and people, just friends, other friends in the business. But the only thing that I would change, I think I would like to be a better musician.
Okay.
Because once I started singing, I studied piano and I'm just a self-taught guitarist,
Okay.
so left-handed. And but I would love to have been a better musician, even though I've had a lot of success. But I can see where I would, after meeting people like Quincy and people like that, and working with Booker during the years, I'm saying, okay, I know enough about music to be dangerous.
Okay. Good question. All right. Great answer. Great answer. Let me go back to the professor. Go ahead, professor.
Uh, who would you say is your ideal musician to collaborate with and why?
Ooh, good question.
Throughout my career now,
Both.
I think Booker and I had the best association as far as collaboration. We uh, came up with some iconic work for a lot of different artists as well as myself. Um, Now I would love to have been able to work with Quincy. Uh, he was my ideal guy because he worked on all kinds of music.
Okay.
And that was one of my things that I would really love to have been able to do.
Good question, professor. Good question. Very good question. Drew, coming at you, Drew. Go ahead.
Mr. Bell, much has been talked about the collapse of Stax. If you don't mind, sir, in your opinion, what led to Stax's downfall?
Actually, I think the downfall of Stax was when they made the split from Atlantic to CBS. They borrowed a lot of money from CBS, and then they still had to operate as a label and had to pay an exorbitant amount of money back every quarter and stuff like that. And then when they left Atlantic, through some contractual commitments, Jim found out that we lost all of our masters.
Mm, yeah.
And so we had to scramble when Al Bell came on board. We had to really scramble with the artists that were left to have a catalog to sell. And so we learned a valuable lesson there that we should have been more self-contained in that respect for it. And the downfall of it when it began to fail was simply because of corporate structure. They wanted to convert Stax into a production company, and Al Bell said no, and he was adamant about it, and we were just as adamant with him
Right.
about it because we had worked for 10 or 12 years there um, at that location and with all the iconic stuff. And we still had, when we filed bankruptcy, we had records on the charts. So it was a combination of, there were a lot of competitive people that we got in, as they say, in business bed with, that
Right.
wanted us out of the business.
Okay.
And we refused to cooperate, so they put us out of business.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's business. Good question, Drew. This business, and I'm preaching to the choir when I'm talking to you, and also the music lovers here. We have found out over the years, and from talking to different artists, that this is a dog eat dog business, and there's so many unscrupulous things that go on behind the curtains that we don't know about until it's done. You know what I'm saying? And that was definitely one of them. Let me
Right.
jump over here to I'm sorry, you say something? Go ahead, Mr. Bell.
I said, you're correct. You're exactly correct.
Okay. Go ahead, Restful.
Yes. Mr. Bell, I read that you felt homesick. How old were you when you felt homesick, and how did the homesickness impact your career?
Well, I was going on the road with the Phoenix Newborn Orchestra, and we were playing the Catskill Mountains and up in the resorts and stuff during the summertime. And I had some time off. We were in New York, and we had about a week off, and I'm in the hotel room. It's raining and thundering and everything, and you become homesick. You know, it's like I had been on the road for almost 3 months, and so you talk to the girlfriend at that time. You talk to her long distance, and that's not that doesn't do it. And so you become homesick. And I had this idea about this song, "You Don't Miss Your Water." And that night in the hotel room, I sat there, and the rain and the thunder and the lightning and stuff. And I had one of these old-fashioned cassette recorders with me. And I sat there and with a melodica. If you guys know what a melodica is, it's the little keyboard that you play with your mouth.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one of those, and I sat there with it and a cassette recorder, and I wrote "You Don't Miss Your Water."
Wow.
And at the time, I had done a lot of background work for Stax. We hadn't recorded for Stax, but we did the background work behind Carla Thomas's G Wiz.
Okay.
That was my group, the Del Rios. And so we hadn't recorded anything, but they were always asking me, why don't you do a solo project? And I had a vocal group at the time, and I didn't want to do a solo project.
Okay.
So when we came back, Chips Moman, they're backing up a little bit. Two of the guys in the group were older than the rest of us, so they were drafted into the military.
Okay.
So that left me and Lewis Williams as a duo. And he wanted to start another vocal group, and I had spent 4 years cultivating the Del Rio. So I'm saying, I don't know, I just want to go solo. I don't know if I want to be in the music business.
Okay.
So he wanted to start a vocal group, so he started the Ovations vocal group. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
remember
Okay.
them, but he sounded exactly like Sam
Sam
Cooke.
Cooke. Yeah.
Yes. So, and he always sounded like that when he was singing with us.
Okay.
But he started the Ovations, and I went solo after I came back. And Chips Moman asked me to do a project for Stax, and so I did. And "You Don't Miss Your Water" was the first tune.
Outstanding. Outstanding. That information about the ovations, I didn't know that. I didn't know where that came from. But that was good. That
Yeah,
was very
he
good.
was part of Del Rio.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Come on in, DD.
Mr. Bell, I read that your Christmas song, "Every Day Should Be a Holiday," has been named the best Christmas song ever. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's weird about that song. Booker and I wrote it, and we were going to put it on an album. and it was supposed to be just a love song.
Okay.
And while we were working it up, Al Jackson had the idea to put Christmas bells on it. And lo and behold, they made just adding those bells, the sleigh bells and all those things, made it a Christmas standard. And from every Christmas, uh, that's all you heard up and down Beale Street, out of the, the stores and the
That's
clubs
awesome.
and everything. Every day will be like a holiday. So they kind of made a Christmas standard out of it. And I'm so glad that they did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good question, DD. Um, give us an example. It's always it's interesting that when we get into these conversations, we're just getting cranked up, and time is already to move past us. You know what I'm saying? Who was one of? Give us a couple of your favorite people to work with at Stax.
Well, number one would be Booker, and then all of the MGs. They were just wonderful because you got to think we had 127 artists at one time,
Okay.
and I would say Booker T and the MGs played on every record that each one of those artists had. At least I would say 75% of the recordings that came
Okay.
out of it. So they were just wonderful musicians. They could change and be just as influential and soulful on one of my records and then go to an Otis Redding record, which was harder heads, but they were just wonderful. And Steve and Duck and Booker and Al, they were the foundation for
Okay.
all of that. And then later on, when the Barcades cut Soulfinger, they found out that James Alexander and the Barcades were young, but they were good musicians.
Musician. Right.
And they had really studied Stax all through their whole lives because they were only like 15, 14, 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
And but they started using them to cut. They started on Studio B with letting them cut the demos, and the demos were so good, so they moved them into Studio A.
That's great
But
progression. Great
it's just that
progression.
I think working with all of those guys at Stack, not only that, the writers like Homer Banks, Buddy Crutcher, David and Isaac, uh, because David and Isaac wrote a couple of things for me, sang background on a couple of things. We would mix it all up
Right.
back
Right.
then because everybody, we literally had 127 artists, and we literally wanted every artist on that label to have a hit record.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Sounds good. We've done some research and we've heard some different stories. Like I told you earlier before we came on the air that I had the opportunity to spend some time with Isaac Hayes and also talk to his daughter after his demise. And there's been several people who have told us like the camaraderie that Stax had was equal to the camaraderie of Motown, was equal to the well, I don't know about the camaraderie in Philadelphia International, but I do know the camaraderie in Motown. Everybody pulled for everybody else to make it happen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that's why I wrote for people like I wrote stuff for Isaac, I wrote stuff for Rufus, uh, Carla, the Mad Lads. I mean, you name it. If an artist was coming in, Jim would literally call a meeting of the songwriters and say, "We've got Sam and Dave coming in next week.
Right.
So present everything that you want to present so that you can be considered for a Sam and Dave session." So that's what we did, but we all literally worked together and created stuff together there. And as creators, we were a family, and we're still a family. Uh, from time to time, I still talk with Deanie. I talked with Eddie Floyd a couple of days ago, and so we keep in touch.
That's a good thing.
Eddie Floyd and I talk quite
That's a
often.
real good thing. That's a real good thing.
Yes.
Oh, it's a good thing. Go ahead, Professor.
Do you embrace the audience's memory when you're performing?
Do I embrace memories?
The audience's memory when you're performing.
Oh, absolutely. They inspire you. And it's weird when we first started out, especially when we started traveling, because you're working local, you know everybody know you're around Memphis. But when we started traveling to different cities, to different countries, and they would call your name and walked on stage, there was this elation and hand claps and yelling. It does something to you because then the audience becomes a part of your performance thing. You feed off the audience, they feed off you, and you can learn to read an audience. And you know if a song is not working, you cut it short, you go to something else. But we have had just wonderful audiences that's been through the years behind us, and I've had almost 65, 70 years in this industry, and still I've got 3 generations at my concerts.
Wow.
The grandparents, the parents, and the kids, and so, and you catch a 21, 22, 25-year-old, they'll come backstage and want an autograph or something, and they'll say something like, I've been listening to you my whole life, and my next question is, how old are you? Yeah, you do, and the audience becomes a part of that. You go to a foreign country, you don't feel like a total stranger because they know you know the body of work before you even get there, so you don't
Right.
become a stranger.
Right. That's awesome. I had that conversation earlier that, and I'm sure that Drew was either or Lamar was going to come up with this question. Do you find yourself better accepted overseas than you do here?
Today, yes, because American audiences, they really, I've still got some staunch fans here. They support me, so I can't, discard that. But as far as your past works and things that you did years ago, they still idolize that in Europe and different places like that. Every country that you go in, they will bring an album that you did 50 years ago.
Right.
About who sang on it, who played on it. Sometimes, quite honestly, you have forgotten, but they know every artist,
Exactly. Yeah.
song, and everything else.
Know all your history. Listen, to the listening and watching audience, I truly do apologize for the sound. Listen, and I've been saying this for years, and I'll continue to say it. The internet works wonderful when it works, but when it doesn't work, we sound like or whatever. But we always will press on with the show anyway, and we're certainly glad to have Mr. Bell here. We're going to go around with our goodbyes, Mr. Bell. So I'm going to start with the professor who's right here with me. Go ahead, Professor.
Thank you for joining us. I learned a couple of things this evening, and it's good that you're still here and still doing your thing. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. As Rufus Thomas would say, it has been a long, pleasing pleasure. I have enjoyed this. Yes.
All right. Come on in, Drew.
Mr. Bell, thank you so very much for joining us and discussing your extensive history. Wow, you are the veteran with a capital V. Quick question. Are you still performing? If so, when are you coming to the Philadelphia area?
Well,
We love Southern Soul as well.
self-imposed retirement. I haven't announced it yet, but there is still enough ham in me to want to get out there and do it. So I don't know, but I'm pretty much, I have a recording studio and recently got all the publishing back. So I'm pretty much a business person now, but I still got enough ham in me to want to get out there and do it. So
All right. All
I
right.
might show up for it.
All right. All right. We got the radio station's got a barbecue coming up. I'll send you the information. All right. Come on in, Russell.
Yes, Mr. Bell, thanks again for joining us, and we appreciate having you.
Well, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Lamar, come on in, bro.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. And my last question is, how do you find the time to work with the children at your foundation?
I always, because a lot of the, like I said earlier, a lot of the earlier musicians, the older musicians, like BB and Bobby Bland and Rufus Thomas, they took the time to teach me. And so it's just a pleasure for me to give back to them. So I work with, of course, the Stax kids, the New York Academy, and the Take Me to the River kids. So we do a lot of tutoring in that respect. But I love to do it, and I love watching the younger generation come along and take up the torch and pass the torch on to them.
Well,
Fantastic.
please continue to be a mentor.
Fantastic. Come on in, DD.
Mr. Bell, it was a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you tonight. And I learned a lot, as we always do when we have guests on. But you're one of my favorites, okay? And my mother's as well. Yes, my mother.
Thank you so much. And thank your mom, too.
Well,
wind beneath my wings.
there you go. There you go. Listen, I told you how excited I was to finally be able to get you on our program. We've tried a couple of times, and this has really been a blessing, and this has been outstanding. Some of the whole thing about this show, it's called Music Lovers LTD. The music is wonderful. I mean, I Forgot to Be Your Lover, Private Number, all of those things are wonderful. But you know what's even better than that? It's the stories behind the curtains that what we look for. And I'm not necessarily talking about dirt. I'm talking about things that we would not know if you didn't tell us. You understand what I'm saying? So these are the things that we look for when we do this program on Friday nights. We look to be able to look at you now and see that you're alive, you're well, and look at all the accomplishments that you've had. So it fills our hearts to say that we now have a friend by the name of Mr. William Bell. All of us do. We have a friend now, and it makes us feel good. Real quickly, we got about 2 minutes. Tell us about this new award that you're up for now that we here have all voted for. All right, tell us about it.
Well, at my age now, I'm getting a lot of awards, and I think the last one that's coming along is one that I'm really excited about because, sometimes as an artist, when you're doing things and traveling about, you don't really know who's watching or who's listening,
right?
What an impact you're having on people. But then when you get to my age and your career and everything, and then you start getting these accolades and everything, and it's like an affirmation of maybe I did something right.
Okay.
So I'm always excited about every award that I get, but this one is right there at the top echelon, and I've had some really good ones to come along. I was just inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame, and
right.
like most soul music said, well, I don't do blues, but yeah, you do blues because it's all derived from the blues.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Gospel and the blues, that's the mother of all of it. Yes.
Right. Right. Well, congratulations to you on all of your accomplishments, the ones that you physically have now and the ones that are coming down the pike. You have some friends, if you've never known it before, you got some friends here in the Philadelphia area in Music Lovers LTD. We will be in contact because, as I said to you, I want to reach out to all of the people that I can prior to, their demise, if you will. Because everybody that was in Stax, everybody that's in music has a story to tell, and one that we definitely want to expose and want to hear about. So again, my friend, I tip my hat to you. I say thank you. God bless you. And we definitely will be in touch. We hope you had a good time with us this night.
Well, thank you. I did, and I sincerely enjoyed myself, and I consider you guys an extension of my family now.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. William Bell from the Stax label, performer, writer, producer, singer. I mean, all of the accolades that you can put on it. Keep in mind that keep your radio set, because at 10 o'clock I come on and we do 10 to 2 here at WPPM or 106.5 FM or phillycam.org right here. Don't forget that this coming Wednesday on my TV show, we'll be celebrating the life and times of Mr. Charlie Gracie. Thursday night, we're going to Candy Johnson's Party House on the radio. And next Friday, baby, let me say that again. Next Friday, baby, we've got Mr. Billy Brown here from The Moment, or Ray Goodman and Brown. That's who's going to be on our show next Friday. So tune in. Everybody out there, have a great weekend. Be safe. I hope the heat goes up to 97 because I love it. Lamar, you up there in Michigan, be careful. Everybody, again, have a great weekend. Mr. Bell, love you very much. And before you go, Mr. Bell, I'm going to say this. You can go ahead and get off the TV and go in that closet and put on that suit that Rupert Thomas gave you. We ain't going to lie about you. We know you got it in there. We know the one with the shorts and the pants. We know about that. Everybody, take care. Good night, everybody. We love you. Good job.
Love you guys.
Happy Father's Day. Good point. Happy Father's Day to everybody.
Happy Father's Day.
You got it. Thanks, now. See you.